I had hauled up the last of my belongings to my new apartment. I dropped my black trash bag full of clothes on the floor and surveyed the bare surroundings of my new home. The walls were beige with stray stains randomly dotted from God knows what, from the previous tenants that the owners didn't finish cleaning. The carpet had a coarseness that I could feel even beneath the thick soles of my shoes and gave off the faint aroma of cigarette smoke. There was going to be a lot of work for me to make this dingy unit somewhat habitable. A day later, I was already feeling buyer's remorse for taking this place immediately. Either the owners were trying their best to unload this dump as quick as they could, or I was desperate enough to sign off on it, thinking that it wouldn't be so bad. The feeling changed when I had a good look at my new neighbor living right next to me. She greeted me, and I immediately averted my gaze downward. I certainly found her attractive, but my natural shyness took over. She stopped me, and I somehow managed to look her in her beautiful hazel eyes that almost hypnotized me. "I said you just moved here, right?" she asked me, while I marveled at the melody in her speaking voice. Yes I did," I stammered, the words almost stalling in my throat. Being an introverted person, I'm not used to people randomly talking to me, but when it's a beautiful person like she was, my anxiety becomes hard to manage. And yet, here she was, talking to me and even giving me a perfect pearly white smile. Before I knew it, I extended my arm for her, and "I'm Josh," slipped out, and I cursed myself in my mind. Now she had to think you're a weirdo, I thought. She grabbed my hand and shook it, the skin of her palm radiating a warmth that traveled through and up my arm. "Hi, I'm Lena," she told me. She looked back at me, and I attempted to smile back despite my embarrassment. I was suddenly glad to be on good terms with my new neighbor, but I worried about coming off as too obvious, and I told her, "Well, see you later," I timidly ended. After that, I expected she'd never talk to me again, not even looking my way again. So when she showed up at my door with a bag of takeout, to say I was surprised would be the biggest understatement in my life. "Just wanted to surprise you with some excellent food. I spent all day making it," she winked, and I felt my face almost burn red. We got to know each other over the next couple hours, and little by little I opened up to her, which was a first for me. I still felt a little reserved, but I could relax knowing that she didn't think I was a complete dork. I even cracked a few lame jokes, and she laughed like she was watching me perform stand-up. It seemed like it ended so quick, and she left. She promised she'd see me soon. Even though I was left alone in my less than stellar living space, I was glad for such great company. I went to sleep later, my bed situated right across from my closet. I had a few shirts hanging inside, and the door was shut. This was a superstition I had that I never quite grew out of. It was in the early morning hours when I had just randomly woken up that I heard it. My sleepy eyes had bulged out of my sockets upon realization. From across my bed, I could hear the faint but unmistakable rhythm of breathing. There was someone in my room, just across my bed. I pulled my blankets closer, like it was a shield protecting me from the intruder. I didn't dare move, didn't dare to breathe, praying that whoever was here would just walk away. My alarm clock sat next to me, its soft green glow the only source of light in my room, and I was desperately hoping it wasn't bright enough to expose my face. The minutes ticked by slowly, while the pounding in my heart grew rapid with every changing second. All the while, the breathing never faltered or grew louder. The minutes ticked by for what felt like a long eternity with no change. I was summoning enough courage to try to look in the direction of my intruder. I turned my eyes over, and my fears were confirmed. From what I could make out in the darkness, my closet door was not closed like it was, but wide open. Inside, I could make out the crouched form of a person sitting, watching me from across my room. I wanted to scream, to confront this person, but my fear kept me paralyzed and had my vocal cords in a stranglehold. All I could do was lay there as this figure stayed hunched over and breathing. I don't know how I managed to fall back asleep. I woke up to the sun's rays breaking through the window, the dawn being a welcome sight. I looked back at my closet, and it was closed, just like how I left it the previous night. I took a moment to calm down, and rationalized that it was just a nightmare. It took me a while to get myself out of bed and out for my routine. I got to work, operating on autopilot throughout the day. I finally made it home, and Lena was walking opposite of me. "How was your first night?" she inquired, and looked at my sleepy, deprived face. "You look like you didn't sleep well." I wanted to tell her about the weird dream I had, and maybe get a hug from her while she tells me it's gonna be all right. I just, had a rough night. First night jitters and all. As I said this, my eyes kept darting between her and off to the side. As much as I wanted to admire her, I felt so intimidated being in her presence, and I didn't feel worthy to. "Well, I won't be out long, so let me know if you need anything." She waved delicately as he walked away. I was glad for her offer, and I tried to put the whole nightmare out of my mind completely. I was going to bed again later that night, and I made sure the closet door was shut. No way it could open from the inside, right? There was nothing else inside either. No way this could happen again. I woke up the same time in the night, and I felt dread flood in my body as I again heard the soft breathing from my closet. My eyes darted, and this time I dared to move my whole head toward my closet. Door wide open. The intruder hunched over inside. My breathing became quick and shallow, as if all oxygen in my room was depleted. I stared down at whoever was in my closet as they coolly remained still. I froze like a deer watching upcoming headlights of imminent demise as I waited for this nightmare to charge at me. But it never did. They just kept sitting there, breathing softly. The reality had set in that this wasn't a nightmare, that there was a person sitting in my closet, watching me from the shadows. I watched for hours until I noticed the dawn begin to bleed into my bedroom. In that half a second, I looked away. The figure had vanished. This time, the closet door was still open, a sign that this was, in fact, real. I walked inside for any other indication that someone was inside during the night. There was nothing there. I was both so afraid because I had an intruder staring at me from my closet and frustrated at myself for being too afraid to do anything. I decided to do something about it, and I would catch whoever it was in the act. I had gone in search of anything that would help me, and I settled on a modest setup, but hopefully would help me out. I picked the last item I needed when I felt a hand grip my shoulder, and I had nearly jumped 10 feet in the air. "Whoa, sorry about that," Lena greeted me with her usual vibrance. "Didn't mean to scare you like that, just trying to say hi." "Oh, that's all right," I said, trying to get my heart rate to slow down. "I'm not great when people sneak up on me like that." "Oh, well, that's a problem because sneaking up on people is what I do best," she said with a sly smirk. She was devious, but I couldn't help finding it cute. She walked around with me for a while, and being in her presence made me forget about everything for a bit. I genuinely didn't want to go back to my apartment with whoever waited for me to fall asleep. I wanted to keep talking to Lena, get to know her even more, get her to like me more. Regretfully, we had to part ways, and she promised that we'd meet up again soon. Back in my room, I set up my makeshift surveillance system. A camera and a motion-activated light had to do, but it turned out to be all I needed. I had everything ready by the time I went to sleep, until I had woken moments ago. I woke up to a brightness in my eyes and the breathing again. My camera was pointed right in view of my closet and was recording whoever was inside and had a light on them. I primed myself to finally confront the intruder, call 911, and that would be the end of it. I bolted upright, ready to defend myself, and immediately my confidence shattered and my resolve was drained when I saw who was inside. Lena had been squatting in my closet in plain view, glowering at me in a way I had never seen her do or thought she was capable of. I would say it's Lena I'm looking at, but at the same time it's not. The way she was hunched over, her skeletal legs were elongated. Her arms were just as long and taut around her forearms and ended in 5 sharp blades of her fingernails. Her face, oh God, her face as I'm looking at it now is straight from my nightmares. Her grin looks horseshoe-shaped. It stretched impossibly long across her face. Her eyes have a malice to them, a predator toying with its food in prolonged torture before devouring it whole. I'm watching her now as she keeps staring back at me. She's standing straight up. She's impossibly tall, the top of her head nearly touching the ceiling. She's walking towards me, strands of drool hanging off her teeth. Help me,